working with those guys and the different ways to attack a punt block scheme and then how to actually block a punt. And Kalik is a guy who's just, he's obsessed with getting better at everything, and it's really obviously showed up over the course of his career. It was fun to see him get another one.
I asked Jim if he thought that this team is capable of playing with anybody at this time. He was kind of non-committal. Why do you think that is, and what do you think? Do you think you guys can go against anybody at this time with the way you guys are playing?
I mean, I think if we play the way we're capable of, yeah, we can play with anybody. Just kind of concerned with playing good against Indiana, and probably that'll be probably the most exciting answer you'll get from anyone around here. That's the focus.
Yeah.
Last 3 games, the offense has done really well. I guess, have you seen any change in mentality or execution? I guess what's been different?
Just playing good, playing better. I think steadily over the course of the year we've gotten better and better and cleaned things up that were, things that weren't going our way early, whether it be taking care of the ball or just being assignment sound. And gradually as we've gone on, individuals have gotten better. The units, the running backs, the line, the receivers, the quarterbacks, everyone's elevated their play, and you're just kind of seeing that happen here at the end of the season, what it looks like when a bunch of different individuals do that together.
I mean, is that something impressive to you? You almost sound like it was kind of expected the whole time. Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit expected,
Sure.
To get better as the course of the year goes. Obviously you'd like to do that from the get-go and play your best, but unfortunately that's not how it goes all the time. You're always going to start somewhere and gradually try to build from there. But I think with the approach that we have and the kind of guys we have, it is kind of to be expected that they're so focused, they work so hard that you're gonna get better. The improvement's gonna come, if you have that right process week to week.
How would you describe Ben Mason's role in this offense now?
He's a guy who has a skill set of moving people around and taking a person and putting him in a place he doesn't want to be in terms of blocking. So he's able to do that in a variety of different ways, and I think it speaks to the flexibility of the system and Coach Gaddis's offense, taking a guy like that who had a very specific role in a very different scheme, and then finding ways to apply it. And I think you'll see that continue to grow as we move forward.
What went into the decision in moving him back to offense full time now?
I'm not really sure. I think it's the only part that I could say is that he has a very obvious skill set on our side of the ball in terms of just being a really good blocker, having great contact courage, being able to run right through somebody without stopping his feet and play with good leverage in hands. So that being part of it, obviously he has good hands, he can catch the ball, he can carry the ball. So there's those things that always kind of made him a natural fit. But besides that, I couldn't really say.
Is he about the same weight and size as at the beginning of the year, or has he trimmed down a little bit since the beginning of the season, do you know?
I think he's a little lighter, not by much. I think a little bit though.
How far has Hassan come as a pass pro?
He's come a long way. He's always been able to block really, really well, but just getting a comfort level in terms of our protections, our calls, the way we're going to identify certain fronts, how we want to pick up blitzes, understanding the big picture. As a running back, that lets you play a lot faster if you can know what not to look at. A lot of stuff going on, and you guys are defense right in front of me, and the ground level, there's a lot to look at. If you don't know where your eyes should be, it can be confusing, and that's why you see a lot of guys bouncing back there and they don't know what to look at. They look hesitant. It's because they're seeing too much. So he's really learned, what he doesn't need to see, and it's able to help him play faster and display his physical dominance.
How much has his experience on defense kind of helped inform that?
I'm not sure. I think in general, guys that have played defense in high school or going up to high school, I think they're always better off because they have a sense of, what is a blitz trying to accomplish, or what is a specific pass rusher trying to do. If he's setting you up outside to go inside or inside to go outside, or set up speed to then bowl. So having a grasp of that is helpful. It's going to help you be able to block a guy. So I would say it's probably just more of a function of that than maybe playing defense here for a little while.
Do you coach your running backs to leap over defenders? Would you prefer they not do that?
No, we work on that daily. I actually demonstrate it.
Great video.
Constantly demonstrating that. No, we don't teach it. It's generally not advised, and so if you do it, you better make sure you hold on to the ball, because there's countless examples out there of guys doing it and then getting flipped over and the ball coming out. So
I mean,
that's-
didn't Hassan do it at Notre Dame? I mean, the field was probably pretty slick at that point.
he did, yeah. It's just one of those things, like just a genetic ability that you just kind of say, okay, wow, and you kind of move on.
Well, they learn from the best.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Do they do it in practice too, or no?
No, I don't know that I've ever seen somebody do that in practice. Maybe in like a scrimmage, but typically nobody will ever leave their feet on defense in practice, or they shouldn't. So it'd be pretty risky.
Everybody talks about the execution being better. Is that simply a byproduct of just repping it out as much as you guys have, or have you guys streamlined the offense to kind of narrow it down to, you know, things that you guys are good at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. I think the execution part is like everybody says, that's true. That's an obvious thing. I think what you're saying is probably right. It's just sometimes it takes more reps. You know, you get something new, it takes a little more time to get comfortable, and maybe some group got comfortable with it sooner. One individual might have grasped it sooner, but you know, when in a game you might have 25 guys playing offense, and you need all of those guys to understand exactly how to do their job in whatever manner we're teaching them to do it, and against whatever specific looks we're getting. And you know, I think you're just seeing guys get to that level of comfort, you know, having had more reps.
How much is the offense also kind of based around, I guess, concepts, and the plays are just kind of a variations of the same concept that you guys are running?
Mm-hmm.
And does that help the learning process too?
Certainly, yeah. It's easy to look at a game and say, hey, those guys, they ran, you know, 15, 18, 20 different runs, and it really is probably more like 5 or 6, and different ways of formationing things or motioning things, and different, you know, ways like everybody does to try to make it seem like more than it is for the defense, and for the O-line, trying to keep things as same as possible for the backs. You know, you need reps to be able to read runs, to be able to understand what's going to play out, how to react. So trying to chunking things together like that and having familiarity with concepts is definitely big.
How much of a role does having a veteran offensive line play in the group that you can kind of rely on?
It's huge. It's huge, especially with protection, just because they're decisive. They know what they want to do, how they want to identify things and protect things. They have a really good grasp of, like, you know, where our weaknesses at, who's under stress in this protection, whether it be a tackle by himself against a really good edge rusher, or a tight end who's blocking a defensive end, which is usually a mismatch, a back having to block a linebacker in the A gap. So those types of things are big because they anticipate really well. They get us out of bad situations a lot of times with just handling adjustments on the field. So that'd probably be the biggest thing.
At the beginning of the season, you mentioned Hassan as a guy that could kind of break into the top of the running back rotation. What was it about him that you knew he had that in him?
He really is a great mix of everything. He's a really physical guy. He is really, really tough, durable. He just works his butt off. So I think when you watch him, and obviously he missed a portion of spring, but you watch him like last season and watch him work out and stuff, he brings this kind of just workman-like attitude that's relentless, and with enough reps, he can get anything learned. And you know, guys like that work hard, that play with physicality and great motor, they tend to do really well here. You know, some guys it takes 3 years, some guys it just takes a year, but you kind of, in this program, you can kind of tell which guys are going to end up finding a role, just because they fit what we value as coaches.
And then you mentioned his eye discipline. What is it? How do you train a guy's eyes to be where they need to be?
So you're talking about like a minute ago, we were talking about protection.
His eyes?
I would say it's just like, first of all, on the field, like being able to come off the field and after a play and say, hey, where were your eyes at? And you know, a lot of guys, especially when they're younger, they'll tell you, well, I saw this and this and this and this and this. and you know you weren't really seeing anything because you're trying to look at the whole defense. You know, a guy like True can come off of it and say, I was looking at number 7 and number 23, and this guy did this and he did that, and that's a guy who knows exactly, you know, what's going on, what's happening, where he should be looking. So the practice reps are huge, and just getting that feedback and the dialogue, and then watching film, and those guys putting in the time on their own to learn and put themselves in game situations while they're watching film on their iPad or in a meeting is huge. It just takes time and reps to get it.
Do you believe in the concept of a trap game?
I guess, yeah. I don't think this is one by any means. I think our players all know what kind of program Indiana is. They're a program that's put a lot of guys in the NFL. They've played a lot of teams tough. They've played us extremely tough. No one in this program's ever been in a game with any real separation against these guys, player or coaches. So our guys know we need to be at our best, players and coaches, and on top of all that, this is the best team that they've had, and it doesn't go unnoticed being on our side of the division. And you see them play against common opponents, and it's kind of you know, you can't help but notice that kind of stuff. And you know, we've kind of been noticing as the year goes on, hey, this is always a big game. It's probably going to be an even bigger one now in this week.
Do you guys use VR technology and, I mean, I guess helmet cams for that, to read the holes and that kind of thing, to see what the running backs are seeing? And is that a good teaching tool, I guess?
We don't.
Okay.
I know some teams do. It's like, it's kind of funny because, like, the ones I've seen of it, it's not always the most practical, like, because it's just kind of a burden because you have to film from right behind the quarterback, and, like, so that guy's going to get run into, and then yeah, there's a lot of stuff to it where you're like, God, is this really worth it?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you can get the same value of just having guys pay attention when they're not in practice.
Yeah.
And which is like, it's hard because you come out of practice and you're breathing hard, and it's play 58 of practice, and you just want to, like, think about the test you have coming up later, or what you're going to eat after practice. And the thing you need to do is watch the guy that's in there, because that's a ground, you know, ground level, ground point of view mental rep for you to get that's at game speed. And our guys do a really good job of that. There's a really good focus throughout practice, and that's probably the closest thing that we can get. It's a lot cheaper too.
Is it hard, though, to convey, though, for a running back to convey to you, like, why maybe he didn't see the hole? I mean, if you don't have the same vantage point as he does.
Oh yeah. It's really hard. Some guys can give it to you, like, really clean, like, and tell you, like, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Right.
And then the next day or that night you watch the film and it happens exactly like that. And then there's other guys that, you know, they don't process it as well.
Right.
Or they maybe just see in generalities, hey, I saw a color, or it felt clogged up, and both of them work. You just kind of learn with your players, you know, how do they see the game, and you kind of learn how to communicate with them in terms of what works for them and what you can take from them that can actually help in a game.
What was your reaction to Chris Evans being reinstated? I don't think we've talked to you since then. And then I guess someone who coached him for a couple of years, what do you think this year was like for him, and what did he gain, if anything, from it?
I'm not sure. Like, I couldn't tell you what it's like for him, or probably better for him too. But I was excited. I was excited for him. I know anybody that loves to play the game, and a guy who loves football like him, it was. I know for me or for most other guys, it'd be really tough to be away from the game. So I was just excited that he's going to get back to doing what he loves to do. And I briefly spoke with him a handful of times since then, just checking on him and seeing how he's doing, and, you know, where his head's at with everything. And I know he's excited to get back more involved.
Were you aware of the moment Jim and Shay had after the game with the game ball? And you know, both Jim wanted him to keep it, Shay gave it to him. And I think it went back to Shay, and what that meant for Jim, and really what that says about Shay.
I had heard about it after. I wasn't really aware of it, so I couldn't really tell you what it meant for either of them. I know it was cool it was a great moment for both of them, and I know Coach was really obviously really excited about the game, and Shay's just, he's a good leader. He always is looking for ways to give other people credit, whether it be the O-line or the backs, the receivers, and to me that's just another example of him, displaying his leadership and just a general gratitude and appreciation for those around him that help him do what he does. I think it's just consistent with who he is, and it's pretty cool to see.